experience physical symptoms, and 73% experience psychological symptoms. About 33% of Americans feel that they are living with extreme stress. 48, so almost half of Americans feel that their stress has increased over the past 5 years. And money and work are the leading causes of stress. So some physical symptoms of stress include fatigue, headache, upset stomach, muscle tension, changes in appetite, the grinding of your teeth, change in sex drive, and feeling dizzy. And you can see off to the side the percentage of Americans who experience this particular symptom. The psychological effects of stress include irritability, anger, feeling nervous, lack of energy, and feeling as though you could cry. About half of Americans report lying awake at night due to stress. So stress also affects sleep. So there are good types of stress, such as getting a promotion, dating, maybe wedding planning, or even Christmas shopping. So stress can be healthy. It's also our natural response when we're frightened or threatened. And what happens is adrenaline is released, as well as some other stress hormones, and this gives us a temporary extra strength and mental activity. So maybe you've been in a situation, an emergency or something like that, where you felt like you had an extra ability to think on your feet, or maybe had extra strength to react in that situation. However, reoccurring stress leads to what is called adrenal fatigue. So the same hormones that help you to fight for your life can also cause major health problems if abused. So what are some causes of this adrenal fatigue I just mentioned? Lack of sleep, financial pressures, personality conflicts, relationship issues, maybe at work or with a family member, death or illness of a loved one, even your diet, yo-yo dieting, skipping meals, or just having a poor diet overall, being deficient in certain nutrients, overuse of stimulants like caffeine and even sugar, digestive problems, over-exercising. So exercising can help relieve stress, but when you are exercising too much, it can actually cause adrenal fatigue. Also illness or infection, and unresolved emotional issues. So there are different stages of adrenal fatigue. So the first stage is characterized by high levels of cortisol levels, abnormally high levels of cortisol. And cortisol is our stress hormone. So when cortisol is too high, it may give you too much energy. You may feel restless, or you aren't able to sleep well at night. You may also lose muscle mass because cortisol is responsible for breaking down muscle for energy. So you could be breaking down too much muscle, resulting in weakness. Weight gain is also very common. Everyone knows that you gain weight when you're stressed, especially around the middle. Also fluid retention and glucose intolerance can result as well. Cortisol, when it's too high, also can decrease serotonin and melatonin levels. So serotonin or low serotonin levels can lead to depression. This is kind of like our feel-good neurotransmitter. And our melatonin is produced so that we can sleep. So when melatonin levels are too low, we don't sleep well. High cortisol can also cause hot flashes in women. So the most common known cause for hot flashes is low estrogen. But actually, when you have too much stress in your life, you're having the early stages of adrenal fatigue, you can have hot flashes as well. And then sugar cravings are very common, as well as a lack of mental clarity, and kind of just a depressed overall feeling. Now the next stage of adrenal fatigue, cortisol, you still have cortisol supplies, but they're starting to run low, but you have not run out yet. And this occurs for about 1 year. Cortisol and DHEA will be in the low to normal range if you have yourself tested, and you'll feel tired and stressed, but you're still able to function. However, when you move to stage 3, that's when your cortisol and DHEA levels are very low and you feel like you have no energy at all. And this is the stage 2 and 3 is definitely when you need to consider hormone replacement, getting on some bioidentical hormones, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. So some common signs that you're in stage 3 of adrenal fatigue is intolerance to exercise, dark circles under the eyes, depression, just poor mental alertness, headaches, fluid retention, salt and sugar cravings, feeling tired all the time, or you may know it as chronic fatigue, mental and emotionally overstressed, maybe lightheaded when you stand up, heartburn and low blood pressure, recurrent infections, and also trouble sleeping. So now we're going to start with, or we're going to talk about some treatments of adrenal fatigue. So the first thing I recommend, no matter what stage you're in, is to start with some dietary changes. Your diet is very, very important and definitely affects your adrenal glands and your stress level. So adrenal fatigue, as I mentioned earlier, often causes low blood sugar, so proper meal timing and balance is critical. So you always want to have protein with every meal, and you always want to eat breakfast. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, and like I said, you always want to have protein with it to avoid having the sugar high or a spike in your insulin, which results in low blood sugar and more stress on your adrenal glands. So you want to avoid foods such as cereals, bagels, juice, and just too many refined carbohydrates and sugar. So some better options would be eggs or maybe some cottage cheese with some berries and flaxseed. Protein and fiber combined together helps create, it's a low glycemic combination. You may also want to try some high-protein yogurt, such as the Greek yogurts, or maybe an apple with some peanut butter and a cheese stick, maybe some scrambled eggs with some beans on the side. So there's your protein and fiber combination. So you want to eat a balanced lunch about 4 hours later after breakfast. You probably don't want to go any less than about 4 hours between meals to avoid the low blood sugar and, again, causing more stress on your adrenal glands. You may need to eat a light snack. Usually around 2 or 3 in the afternoon, we have a drop in our cortisol level. So that may be a time when you feel lightheaded or like you have low blood sugar. So you may want to eat a small snack, again, always with fat and protein. And you want to try to eat dinner a little bit earlier, maybe around 5 to 6 p.m. And then you may also need a snack before you go to bed because, again, when you sleep, that's a time when your blood sugar can get too low and cause you to wake up during the night. So you may want to eat like a boiled egg or just some peanut butter, a handful of nuts. I like to have some almond milk with some protein powder stirred in just to give you a little extra protein before you go to bed.